The Stonewall Inn is probably best known for the LGBTQ history and activism.
But there are hundreds of other places around New York City that have amazing stories behind them. CBS 2's Natalie Duddridge has the details.
In buildings grand and nondescript, locations famous and private, there's a rich LGBTQ history in just about every corner of New York City.
We like to say that we're making an invisible history visible.
Andrew Dolkart is the co-founder of the NYC LGBT Historic Sites Project.
We have posted on our site over 350 sites.
For example, on Staten Island, there's the Alice Austen house.
Alice Austen was a pioneering woman photographer. When it became a house museum, they refused to acknowledge that there was any lesbian relationship.
Through the work of the Historic Sites Project, Austen's sexuality is now embraced as part of her cultural contributions. Some of her provocative images included women dressed in male drag. Austen's lived in the home with Gertrude Tate, her partner of 53 years. The West Side Tennis Club in Queens was the home of the U.S. Open for over 60 years, featuring history-making players such as Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King.
This is where Renee Richards, who was the first trans woman to compete in a professional tournament, played. And this was very controversial, as this still is today.
Other historic sites include the entire theater district.
We have listed every single Broadway theater.
There's dozens of historical residents to peruse, too. Playwright and gay activist Larry Kramer lived at 2 Fifth Avenue, Harlem Renaissance poet Langston Hughes on East 127th Street, and there's the Lexington Avenue home of artist Andy Warhol. Literary icon James Baldwin's row house on West 71st Street is listed on the National Registry, as is the Bleecker Street home of playwright Lorraine Hansberry.
It's where she wrote A Raisin in the Sun, the first play on Broadway that was written by a black woman, the first play by a black woman to win the New York Drama Circle Critics Award.
The Church of the Holy Apostles is also more than a noted New York City landmark.
It has this really important social history that relates to the LGBT community because it was the home of many of the earliest post-Stonewall activist organizations from 1969 to 1974.
Also relative to Stonewall was the Wooster Street Firehouse, headquarters of the Gay Activists Alliance.
In the early 1970s, they were involved in civil rights activism. They were involved in trying to end the entrapment of gay men and lesbians.
The GAA moved out of that building in 1974 because of a fire allegedly set by a homophobic arsonist. Natalie Duddridge, CBS 2 News.
And there are hundreds more historic sites to explore. We have a link on our website at cbsnewyork.com. While you're there, you can also watch all of our Pride stories.